and it's one of the hymns. It's the gray hymnal. It's hymn number 94, if you ever want to go back and look for it. And it's called, What is Life? It's rhymes, so that gives it a bit of a bouncy when you say it, but I love these words. What is life if full of care we have no time to stand and stare? No time to stand beneath the bough and stare as long as sheeps and cows. No time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in the grass. No time to see if broad daylight streams full of stars like stars at night. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet, how they dance. A poor life this, if full of care. We have no time to stand and stare. You know, it's just great to be here. I know some of you from personal interactions and work within the UUA. I've known many of your ministers. So this place is known to me. It's the first time that I'm here, and I'm just very excited. And the trip is no further than the trip I made when I was the minister at the Queen's congregation in New York. So, you know, I could go either way. All right, so now here's a question for y'all. Anyone here familiar with Campfire Girls? Oh, we got a couple. Oh, good. I always need a couple in the audience. So for the rest of you, they were an organization of girls very similar to the Girl Scouts. Now, in my hometown, now I'm going to slip into this hillbilly accent because that's where I grew up, and I can't help it. So in my hometown, there were no Girl Scouts, only Campfire Girls. We had bluebirds instead of brownies, and our uniforms were navy skirts, white shirts, and a red, white, and blue kerchief. Now the organization is called Campfire USA. It's been co-ed since 1977, which I was really surprised about. And it's over 100 years old. Now, I learned many things from Campfire Girls. Making a fire with only one match, donut holes cooked in butter, and then dipped in cinnamon and brown sugar, and how to successfully bob for apples. There's a trick, and I ain't telling. Okay, so what I remember the most were the activities, but obviously there were deeper things at work on me that I probably wasn't quite aware of, you know, being a child, and their mission was, still is, building, caring, competent youth and future leaders. I turned out pretty good. But one thing that still rings in my head is one of their songs, and it's the Campfire Law. Worship God. Seek beauty, give service, and knowledge pursue. Be trustworthy ever in all that you do. Hold fast unto health and your work glorify, and you will be happy in the law of campfire. You guys are the first ones that didn't have somebody singing along with me. Very Girl Scout in this area, I can tell. And I love having fun with you all, so get used to it, right? Okay, so seek beauty. I love that this song puts a mandate of seeking beauty before work. Right? Seek beauty, then give service, then pursue knowledge, and then way down, you work glorify. But so many of us have put work and other things before seeking beauty or practicing beauty. I know that we need a livelihood for basic necessities. And these are two different things, but both necessary. Work for basic survival, but beauty for growing souls. Now, Maslow's hierarchy would say that those basic needs are the most important. And for most of us, I am guessing we're getting those met, even though it might not be easy. And I will say, if anybody, your basic needs aren't met, then I recommend you give a call here to the office, and you all will have, this church, this community, this congregation will have a pastoral call, and we'll speak with you, because we are here to support. Now, at my current age, I have an appreciation of how Campfire might have contributed to the growth of my soul. Now, I'm sure that there are many other influences you all probably know: family, church, congregation, school, friends, the culture at large. They all have an influence. But I want to talk about how to grow our souls. I think that this is a conversation that we should be having in our congregations. Growing our souls. And our headquarters, association's headquarters, put out a DVD. This tells you how long ago it was. It was 2007. It was called Faithful Conversations. And there were two ministers from Minneapolis and St. Paul area, and they discussed spiritual maturity. Now, in this 2-hour and 20-minute DVD, yes, I watched it all, they discussed the different characteristics of spiritual maturity. Now, the Reverend Dr. Kendyl Gibbons, she's now at Kansas City, states that her choice at that time of 5 spiritual characteristics for spiritual maturity are living in covenant, living in beauty, and this order doesn't matter, living with ambiguity, living in gratitude, and living fluently with metaphor. Now, Kendyl Gibbons has been the president of the American Humanists. She has worked on these spiritual characteristics over the last 15 years and continues to work, but it's sermon snippets and that particular DVD where that has grown and matured. I had a Facebook conversation with her within the last month, and she was surprised that anybody was talking about them more or less giving sermons, and I gave a one-week workshop for SIR, the Central East region, one of their summer camps, and she's like, wow, I have a book that I need to write in my retirement. So that hopefully will be coming in our future. So I know that we could debate for hours of whether these are the right spiritual characteristics, right? Living in covenant, oh, very you. Living in beauty, living with ambiguity, oh my God, was she crazy? Living with gratitude, we hear that a lot, and living fluently with metaphor. So humanist. But should we include them all? Should we add a few more? Is it a good model? So I think this is a really good model for us to work with. It's only 5, and I'm talking only about one. And it comes out of a Unitarian Universalist tradition. So Growing Souls has a Unitarian Universalist tradition. You know, I think that these 5 spiritual characteristics of spiritual maturity are universal. This really is the way that I want to live, the way that I'd like my family and my communities to live, and how I envision the world to be. Spiritual maturity is not an end goal, but a way to live. It is not a mountaintop to reach, but an ongoing way of living and interacting with the world. Now, I think we can develop a whole list of practices that we would want in the world and that would make sense to a UU, no matter what our independent theology. But I believe this list is inclusive enough to cover all the different theologies of our individuals and our congregations. I think we don't need to look for practices and exercises from the religions of the Far East. Now, for those of you that have found methods of growing your spirit in any of the other practices outside UU, wonderful. Keep it up. But I'm talking about some of us, and maybe all of us, that might find those a little hard to fit into our lives, or they don't really speak to us because the metaphor and the culture is slightly different. So I think this is a Unitarian Universalist way, little w. So in Kendyl's list, we find beauty as a spiritual characteristic of a spiritually mature soul, and maybe even a congregation. And we know that it just keeps popping up. Just look at the beauty in the sanctuary. Oh my gosh, these quilts are fabulous, like masterpieces. But beauty is more than just the adornment on the walls. It is more than our aesthetic, even though I really love what you've done in this building. I think our Unitarian Universalist saint, Ralph Waldo Emerson, has it right. Never lose an opportunity to see anything that is beautiful, for beauty is God's handwriting. Beauty can lead us to the divine, the transcendent, something that I think we all seek. And according to Matthew Fox, in his book, Creation, Spirituality, because beauty is a habit a habit of the universe, it is essential that humans be about the good work of showering one another with beauty and bringing out the beauty of one another. Not to do this is to obstruct the universe's intention. Injustice, it seems to me, is always ugly. What is just is beautiful and brings back the beauty to what was broken. So according to Fox and Emerson, we should seek beauty in order to be in touch with the transcendent, the divine intention as part of creating justice in the world. Beauty and justice. You may not have thought of those two together, and it's a lot to ask. But maybe seeking beauty is something simpler. Thomas More, in his 12th book, Dark Nights of the Soul, I think explains beauty best. He explains how the spiritual practice of beauty can be an avenue of transformation. And I quote, "Beauty feeds the soul, wakens it, brings it to life as nothing else can. Beauty is a deep-seated reaction to some meaningful and stunning presentation of life. It stops you and gives you an instant promise of pleasure. If you have no soul, you won't even see the beauty in the thick layers of your practicality and in the density of your ego. All your senses and your full imagination have to be alert when beauty makes its appearance." And I continue. "The beauty of a thing is its depth and meaning being revealed. To perceive that beauty, you need an eye for both appearances and for the invisible radiance of a thing. You also need the capacity to be affected. But many people walk through life defended against all positive influences. They are not open to invitations and messages coming at them at every turn. They wonder why life feels empty and meaningless, when the problem is not the absence of meaning, but their blindness and deafness to it. Beauty nurtures the soul by serving the spirit. Beauty takes you out of your cramped, merely personal worries and sets you down in a field of eternity. The essence of spirituality is an enlargement of vision. The experience may only last a moment, but in these matters, a moment is just enough. You need a transcendent sense of things, not one that lets you escape from your situation, but one that gives you an added perspective. In this, beauty and religion serve similar purposes. And so it's no wonder that they are so often allied. We need to be affected by beauty. Beauty gives us a life of meaning. Beauty feeds the soul. This is not external beauty. This is not the ideal of perfection in a leaf or a woman's face. This is about the beauty of creation, the beauty of the wonder of the universe, the beauty in the simple things, and the beauty in the profound. So how do we practice beauty? We know spiritual practices of prayer, meditation, music, a Japanese tea ceremony, martial arts. Seeking beauty is a spiritual practice. It's just different from those that I just stated and ones that we commonly talk about. I happen to know many ministers who who are certified spiritual directors. I also know many ministers who seek spiritual directors as an act of developing their spiritual life and growing their souls. One minister shared that her spiritual director told her to do something in the arts each week. So she went to plays, concerts, exhibits. She said that she tried all kinds of new things that she would have never thought to do before. She tried different cultures and different genres. And she was amazed when she found out that she really enjoyed urban music. Now, this minister felt alive in many ways that she hadn't before, and it's not rocket science. It only required her to pay attention to seeking beauty and looking for it in different places. I will admit that I saw the Mary Cassatt exhibition this week. Oh, it was profound. And the minister that I went with did not know who she was, barely knew who the Impressionists were, and she had me come back around and say, which pieces moved you the most? Seeking beauty is easy, and you can go deeper. Just put it into your life. We all share beauty, according to Fox. It strikes us indiscriminately. It may be when our child was born into this world, or a simple flower, or a song, or a smile on a face, or a great act of courage, or a dance well done, or a child's laugh, or that loaf of bread baking, finding a job worthy, a snowfall. There is no end to beauty for the person who is aware. Even the cracks between the sidewalk contain geometric patterns of amazing beauty. If we take pictures of them and blow up the photographs, we realize we walk on beauty every day, even when things seem ugly around us. There's no end to beauty for a person who is aware, even when things seem ugly around us. The one minister I mentioned, needed only to focus on seeking beauty and adding it to her spiritual practice. She needed only to take time and stare. To cut yourself off from beauty is to cut yourself off of the divine wonder of the universe. Ruth Bates, in her book Wild Communion, has a bit of a different version of beauty as a spiritual practice. Everywhere I stroll, I say, "Hello, beauty," or "You're magnificent, beauty." Each time there's a rush of recognition and delight. I walk on a carpet of gold witch hazel leaves, breathing in the sweet scent of the trees' strange spidery flowers. I put my face into a branch full of red maple leaves and kiss one. I study an intricately curled brown leaf hanging limp on a peach maple tree. I walk into the arms of my favorite yellow tree. "Hello, beauty." I know you're fleeting in my life. I know as a human animal with limited capabilities, I can't hold you, but thank you for being here today. So just reach out and say, hello, beauty, to whatever you see. Or not. I'm sure you will find your own way that suits you. This room of introverts, I think. But I am just providing some examples. Before I finish, I want to acknowledge that seeking beauty when things are ugly is difficult. Very difficult. I can't imagine what it's like to live in a prison. I've heard that it's pretty ugly, and I'm guessing that it is one of the ugliest experiences that a person can have. And somehow there's beauty there too. I've seen documentaries about how prisoners train horses and service dogs. There is joy, love, compassion, virtue, beauty in those prisons. Does having beauty as a spiritual practice help prisoners find meaningful lives? I think so. I know prison chaplains will tell their stories of beauty in their interactions with prisoners. So besides seeking beauty every week, or better, every day, I think that we need to add is that we should find beauty in the ugly. Oh my gosh, there is so much ugly in our lives, in our culture. I can easily think how I want to demonize some politicians and newscasters. And it's hard for me to find beauty in them. And in some laws and policies and in press announcements and debates. It's hard for me to look beyond the ugliness. I've been to several town hall meetings and Board of Ed meetings and vehemently disagreed with a council member or representative, BOE member, or others in an audience. And I struggle with remembering that they have fears and worries like me. They also love and give and care and are grateful for the blessings in their lives like me. It's hard. I struggle with it mightily. But I believe that finding the beauty in the ugly is a necessary step towards building a peaceful world. We all need to get past the ugliness, theirs and ours. We need to get to a place where we can sit down and listen to each other's stories, right? We need to get to a place where we can transcend our differences. So go out and be beautiful.